turned on the light and they ran off.
Did you hear that?
And as beautiful as it is, it's equally dangerous.
Something really bad happened yesterday. We're Chris, Charlene, and this is Holly. We've been living and traveling in our van for nearly 2 years now.
You join us today as we continue our van life journey in Bavaria. Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. We're still exploring Germany and we're in this beautiful place here by the lake, and as you can see, we're surrounded with mountains. Now the only strange thing is that normally everywhere is covered in snow, but for some reason this year it's completely the opposite.
In today's video we're gonna talk to you about van life safety.
And the main reason we want to talk about van life safety is because a lot of you have been asking us whether we feel safe sleeping outside in our motorhome. Some of you motorhome owners as well always stick to campsites, so we want to let you know about our experience, at least in the last 2 years, as we've been traveling throughout Europe. This is actually not a lake, it's an artificial dam. It's called Sylvenstein Dam, and it was built about 60 years ago to prevent floods and obviously to provide extra water in times of drought. And the most beautiful thing about it is this bridge that you drive over with the magnificent view of the mountains.
I decided to give Chris a short break from the wheel. Driving here in Europe is overall okay. It's very safe and there are a lot of road signs, you know, and even the roads are well maintained. So that's a plus for us that we live on the road. And some mountain passes, they're not all the same. Some of them are narrower than others, but that's the only thing that I really don't like sometimes.
Apart from the narrow roads, you also have to watch out for height limits, like especially if you have a motorhome like ours, and even more if you have one of the big ones that are like 3.3 meters high. You do find tunnels from time to time, which are normally around 3 to 4 meters, so definitely watch out for them. And in Switzerland we even saw some like cut into the mountain where you kind of have to drive in the middle of the road, so be aware of those. Apart from that, the only thing you have to get used to really is that a van is normally a bit longer. So in our case, our one is 7.5 meters long. It took some getting used to, but after a couple of weeks we're used to it really. You just have to watch out for the overhang at the back when going around bends. And as Charlie mentioned, the roads here, especially in Central Europe, are really well maintained. Obviously the further east you go, it does get a bit bumpy sometimes.
One thing that I really love about driving in these roads are the splendid views that come with them. And the other thing that I really hate are the people that overtake me, you know, while I'm driving. This happens only when I'm driving. I don't know why. Maybe I drive too slow. Whoa. But I love driving here. Whenever we arrive late at night, both of us go out with Holly just in case an animal comes, you know, because wild animals are very active at night. So whenever we're parked like this, pitch black, I get a bit scared and Chris has to come with me all the time.
Yeah, there's no animals here though.
There's a lovely stream, you can hear it already.
Yeah, you can't see it obviously, but we'll see it tomorrow.
I really love these kind of park hubs because they're very quiet, and I don't know why, but most people are scared to go to a random park hub, you know, and stay there for the night because they think it's very suspicious or maybe not safe, but in reality it's much more safer than staying in a city. Sometimes when we park in cities or local towns, a lot of youngsters come and they start making a lot of noise, you know, or they start driving their car. And it's okay because they don't do it like during the night, they do it like around 8 or 9 p.m. The most part that I really hate is when they start doing donuts because they might hit our van, you know, and I get really worried. But here, I'm sure that no one will come tonight. In cities, you get a lot of people living together, so you get the good and the bad people as well. That's why we love it when we park in places like this. The risk, I think, is higher for something to happen in the city rather than a park up like this. Wow, the sky is full of stars. And there's this river stream behind us. We're gonna sleep so good tonight. There was always a part of me that craved to explore more. I had a dream to live in the forest, climb up mountains, watch sunsets, swim in the ocean, be on that open road. No routine. All I wanted was just to live a simple life in nature. To be able to live this life, I needed to take risks. I was about to accomplish a big dream. I knew my life was about to change for the better. I was so ready to hit the road, to live life in the wild. But for some reason, I still felt afraid. And I think that it's okay to be scared. Some people are scared about the thought of living in a van because it brings so many mixed emotions. I was one of them. And so I had to ask myself the question, why am I feeling scared about this big step? I had no answer. To take action and do it was the only answer I found because I had no one to lean on for advice. Time has passed. From my experience, I've learned that living on the road is safe, yes. And so I've learned that living outside of my comfort zone is a great way to let go of the feeling of fear. Van life is not for everyone, but it's less scary than you think.
A really nice morning walk which has taken us up here on this hill overlooking the lake here in Tegernsee.
This spot is just 30 minutes from the car park, and it's a wonderful feeling to be up here in nature. There's no people right now and we feel very calm.
Normally this place is all covered in white and packed with people doing all skiing and snowboarding activities. But as you can see, it's pretty much dry here this year. I can see there's like this little slope which they might have even made artificially, I think. Up there, as you can see, it's just empty, green actually. It looks like autumn. Not every winter is like this. It actually gets quite cold and you have quite harsh weather here in and around the Alps. And as beautiful as it is, it's equally dangerous. So you do need to watch out, and we do take precautions in regards to weather. Where snow is concerned, we're always checking the forecast as it tends to change a lot here in the mountains. And when heavy snow is due, we do two things really. One, we try and stay away from the mountains. We don't want to get stuck in an isolated area. And two, we top up on gas. So we've got an LPG cylinder, a normal gas tank, and we try and fill them up both so that if we do get stuck in an area where we can't drive for a few days, we'll have heating for at least, I'd say, 5 or 6 days with those two gas bottles. Unfortunately, snow is not the only thing you need to watch out for when you're living in the van. We do also keep an eye out for heavy winds, and as a precaution, we do not park underneath trees that could possibly fall, or even underneath any other objects that could possibly drop on the van and do some damage. Flooding is also another problem, and the main issue with that is that, seeing that we're traveling, we do not know which areas are kind of prone to flooding. If I was back home, I know which areas on the island flood normally, so I would stay away from those. But as I mentioned, moving about, you're not really too sure where you should go in cases like this. Obviously, the good thing with a van is that you're not stuck in a fixed place. So if the area that you're in does have a flood warning, you can easily just get out of there. And obviously, common sense, try to head to higher ground. One more thing that I nearly forgot is the tide. So if you're staying in an area where there is tide, for example, like by the sea or in the river in certain places, keep an eye on that. What we try and do is look out for signs. We try to arrive in daylight where possible instead of arriving like late at night in the dark, and that way we can see if there's any tide signs. And yeah, just common sense really. We don't want to be that motorhome stuck in the middle of the river.
Did you hear that? That's a woodpecker.
Sounds like a proper drill. Drilling the tree.
I heard it and we stopped, and we've been here for 5 minutes listening to this sound. It's so cool.
We can't see him though. Somewhere up here.
Wow.
Bye, Mr. Woodpecker.
While you're cooking, don't put anything on the grill. Well, ours is like this. This one started to melt.
And luckily we've got that fire extinguisher there, which we've never used so far, but we might need to use it with Charlene's cooking.
I hope we never use it, but it's melted slowly, you know? So...
Yeah, Charlene is really good in the kitchen, really good cook, makes amazing food, but sometimes it's a bit clumsy.
Yeah, look at this. This is not the first time, by the way.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying this, yeah.
It happened, I think, another time.
Yeah, this week.
And I really don't want to burn my home.
What is that?
Nah,
Yeah.
so good.
I'm not eating it. This next thing is the most used to worry me before we started van life: security. I was really worried that whenever we're going to leave the van on its own, someone was going to break in and take all our stuff. Now, first things first, insurance is a must. Obviously, if you're living in your van, you've got possessions with you, you need to get good insurance that covers you, obviously not just for the van from a vehicle perspective, but also for your possessions. Apart from that, there are some good deterrents, like having an alarm, like we've got an extra lock as well, and having a dog does help. So if someone comes near the van, especially when it's like quiet, Holly starts barking, and we kind of encourage her when she does that, just to show her that she's doing a good job. So in the past 18 months, we've visited many countries, and we haven't really had any problems in regards to theft. Now, saying that, whenever we're going to a new spot, we try our best to check kind of where we're going beforehand, and we also check for reviews of other people that have slept there before us. There have been occasions where we've been going somewhere and we've seen some negative reviews that someone was bothering them, or else that maybe someone tried to break into the van or actually did break into the van. So if there's any spots like that, we definitely try to avoid them at all costs. Saying that, most of the issues tend to be around cities. So like from our end, we only had one kind of small issue, kind of petty theft. It was someone trying to grab our bike, and that was on the outskirts of Ljubljana in Slovenia. Again, I just like turned on the light and they ran off, so it could have been a kid. No idea, but apart from that, small minor issue, we haven't really had anything to report. When we go out like in a new area where we're not sure of, we kind of take a backpack with us with some important stuff and our documents. And apart from that, one good thing is that we're two of us. So when we have to go to a certain place, like for an appointment or something, the other person stays in the van with Holly. We never leave her alone, to be honest, in the van either. And it's one of the benefits of kind of being two people, that we can be a bit more flexible. So we only leave the van together when we're going like for hikes like today. Apart from that, like if I go to do some work or something, Charlene's in the van. If Charlene goes to do shopping, I stay in the van. And that kind of adds a further level of safety.
So right now we're going down this hill. It's pretty steep, but we got everything locked. Where we were this morning was getting a bit crowded, so we decided to leave from there. And right now we're parked at this parking spot. As you can see, it's very calm here, and that's one thing that we really love about van life. In a home, you're kind of stuck, so if your neighbor is doing something that you don't like, it's kind of sad because you have to face him every day. whilst in a van you can just leave. And so far we haven't really had any notable encounters.
I think we base our safety a lot on what media tells us as well. Obviously there are issues all over the world, but I understand that the media sometimes portrays certain issues a bit more. Certainly like in Eastern countries, there's this mentality here in the West that there's either more danger or problems. And I think that the way you have to look at it is that there's good and bad people everywhere. And I think there's just as many problems in the Western countries as there are in places like Bulgaria and Turkey. To be honest, we felt really safe during our trip in Turkey. For our experience traveling in these countries, I would say they're just as safe as Europe. Obviously, like here, I think in and around the Alps, in Austria, South Germany, like in the Dolomites, I would say it's kind of one of the safest areas to stay. But then obviously when you venture away from those places, I think the eastern side of Europe and beyond is just as safe as the western side. So on that note, do watch the news, keep up to date, but don't let the headlines scare you. You didn't tell me this was uphill again.
Oh my god. It's like a 15-minute walk uphill. And I'm out of breath. But there's something really beautiful at the end of the hike, so let's keep on going.
We absolutely love spending time in nature, but sometimes one hike is enough for the day. And I didn't do any research here. I just drove where Charlene told me, and she said there's a, well, I'm not going to tell you, but there's something nice here right next to the parking lot.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Then we realized it's like a half an hour hike up. But yeah, we're here now, so we have to do it.
Here we are! Woo! Wow, look at that! Woo!
But you can find another shelter you can call your own. You can't push time. You can't push time. But you can ride out every wave, riding out.
So I think this was definitely worth the second hike of the day.
Yeah, right?
Well done. There's something quite relaxing about being out here on your own, without any service, without any internet. And although that might be scary for some, it's so liberating and such a good feeling. And on that note, a lot of people might be worried about driving their van into such areas. There are certain park-ups that are so secluded that we didn't have cell service. Like normally we need internet to work, but sometimes when we have some time off, we love to go to these places which are a bit more remote. And if you're worried, really, like, to be honest, by living in a van, it's not really that much different to driving a normal car, because if you go out to a hike in the mountains, sometimes you won't have reception. So being in the van is just the same. But I will say that most places we've been, we have been connected to the internet. So even if you're in a remote area, which might look like in the middle of nowhere, sometimes you still get cell service and internet. And obviously in regards to driving in general, make sure you have a good breakdown cover, so that if something does happen off the beaten track, you can kind of go away, get cell service and call for help. So I think living in your van and driving a car on this note is pretty much the same. Just know your surroundings and be careful. There's Mum. There she is. So excited to see you.
This is what I got with me today. She
doesn't know, eh?
doesn't know a thing about it. Look at this.
It's her ball. Oh my god, she's happy now.
Let's go, let's go. Come. Come. Leave it. Drop it. Drop it. Something really bad happened yesterday. You wanna tell them how it happened?
So, we didn't really mention this at the beginning of the vlog, but just before we started...
We didn't want to mention it.
We had a bit of an accident, and basically one of our drones went swimming. So you might have seen this. We've sometimes used what's called an FPV drone, and totally my fault. I crashed it into the lake. That beautiful one that we were at yesterday. So not sure what we're going to do really. Don't think we're going to get a new one because we've got the main drone which we use for most of my work and for the vlogs as well. I guess we're just going to leave it there at the bottom of the lake, and
it was too cold to dive for it.
For sure, yeah.
It was like 1 degree yesterday, so I had no idea what the water temperature was, but it was very deep. It was in the middle of the lake, and it was so hard. But I think right now you're seeing the footage of how it happened as well.
Yeah, we might have something. We'll put it on the video. At least we've got the other drone which we use, and we can't really not really afford to buy a brand new one again at the moment. Anyway, I'll see what happens with the insurance and see what we can get.
Yeah.
The problem is with these drones is that, especially this one, the FPV, you have the goggles as well, and you have like the all different things which kind of you have to buy for that drone, and they're not interchangeable with one another. And yes, you're kind of just stuck with all this like equipment that we can't really use now if we don't get a new drone. So I don't know, maybe we just chuck everything out and keep the one that we do have.
Don't worry, you're still gonna see some drone footage in our videos because we got the Mavic 2, right?
2, yeah, Mavic 2 we got.
2, yeah.
So yeah, been a bit down today, but we enjoyed the day overall. It was nice getting out in nature to kind of clear your mind, but it was still in the back of my mind all day really. And the problem is that because you fly the drone with the goggles, I literally saw it sink, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, so if you're swimming there, you know,
Go
maybe
find
in
it.
summer.
you find a free drone. Don't know whether it'll work, but it's there somewhere at the bottom of the lake or reservoir, sorry.
So those were the main points related to van life safety. I hope that we helped or we cleared the idea that you have about van life when it comes to fear, and I don't know, maybe some of you are scared to do it. I urge you to do it because we were there as well. Our families, when we told them about the idea of living in a van, they were like, what? What about safety? That was the first thing that asked us. Even when we visit a new country, for example, you know, you start thinking a lot about what's going to happen, you know, if it's safe, la la la. And then you go there, you experience it, and you change your perspective. A year and a half later, we're still in our van, safe and sound. So I hope that we helped you. If you're new here, why not subscribe to follow our adventures? Hit that like button if you liked this video. If there's something that we missed out, why not? Put it down in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!